My name is Amanda Vermilia, and this is my presentation to the board of BUHI directors. Now, first, there was the chief marketing officer's goals. Their goals were that we were to spend $5,000 weekly and to make sure we spent as much of that as possible. Also, to grow the brand awareness, and that's by number of followers, fans, etc. And then lastly, to increase engagement. And this was done through increasing sales and then also outperforming our peers. Now, I had specific goals too. I wanted to target specific audience members, and that was the right person at the right age group, needing the right buoy bag. I also wanted to grow awareness, and I was going to do that by expanding our customer reach. And then lastly, I wanted to drive 10% of year over year return on investment increases. Now, to do this, I had a marketing plan. My strategy was to drive brand awareness growth, and that was to grow the fan base through strategic hashtag use and diverse audience segments. And then also to drive audience interaction. And I really wanted to do that through polls, Q&A, and to encourage some user-generated content. Now, in the audience that I wanted to specifically reach out to, I wanted to reach out to three different types. First was Daypacker Tom. Daypacker Tom loved the travel and outdoors and really loved anything outdoor themed content. Then we also had Back to School Mindy. Back to School Mindy was college age and needed something that was versatile and durable. And lastly, we had Energetic Jill. And Energetic Jill wanted reliable workout bags. And then an interesting overlap that I identified with Jill and Mindy, which will come in later, is that they both really loved pet related products. And so I kind of wanted to see and play with that. Also, I had three different platforms that I really focused on. First, I focused on Instagram for its target audience. The audience is 18 to 45, and that's right in the age range that I wanted to work with. Second, I targeted Facebook just for their reach, their numbers. They had a strong daily user base, and I wanted to reach that. And then also, I targeted TikTok because I wanted to establish a presence on TikTok and kind of get into the marketing phase and the brand phase of TikTok before anyone really had a strong brand presence. So, next, talking about what worked. First of all, let's go back to the pets. Mindy and Jill both loved their pets and really want pets in their bags. So I put pets in bags, just like this picture suggests. And the three times I did it, they were my three best sellers and my three best weeks. I had high engagement, high turnover, high conversion, everything. It just worked out so well. Also, things that worked short posts with just one or two emojis. People like the quick, the simple, they did not like the complex. Also, post with products as the focus. So just the bag or the bag and a person. Also, when a person is looking at the camera but has either their purse with them, their new handbag with them, or their backpack slung over the shoulder where you can see both the person and the backpack worked really well. Holiday posts where there was a sale of some sort or a link to something worked really well as well. And then lastly, small group photos showing that people had fun together. But in everything that did work, there's always things that didn't work. Something that didn't work was lay flat photos. So putting the bag and then showing everything that went in there, whether that's the computer and the accessories and the book and stuff like that, it didn't go over very well with my audience. Also, products shot on just plain white. So just the product on white background didn't work very well. And then lastly, holiday posts with no real connection to BUHI didn't really work very well for my audience. So I talked about three different channels. How did those channels do? First, all Instagram rocked it. I had a 542% ROI. That's a 5-to-1 ROI. I also had 800,000 engagements. People liking, sharing, commenting, just opening it up, anything. And from all that, it was $295,000 in revenue alone, just in Instagram. Now, Facebook itself also beat my ROI goal. Facebook had an 18% ROI. They also had about 400,000 engagements, so likes, comments, and then also $47,000 in revenue as well. And lastly, TikTok. I talked about establishing a TikTok presence. Did not quite meet my 10% ROI goal, but I did really good at 6%. I had 230,000 engagements And I also made $27,000. Now, even though TikTok wasn't the best, I think the engagement is actually really high for what I had. I think the platform is still new and evolving and can go so far in the future. So, as for the other channels, after week 3, there was a very good reason I didn't use them. And that's because the time I spent building posts specifically for those channels never amount to anything even closely enough to build any revenue through them. And so they just weren't worth it. Those channels included YouTube, Pinterest, and Twitter, or now X. Speaking of other channels, if I had to describe the difference between Instagram and Snapchat, I would say that Instagram is designed for the visual stimulation of everyone, and Snapchat is really for private conversations, where the snaps are disappeared right after they've been viewed. So basically, there is no rewind on Snapchat. Instagram's also like reaching a public audience, and Snapchat is wanting you to engage with close friends. For another channel, I do think LinkedIn would be a viable marketing solution for BUHI as long as we're targeting the right audience. Personally, for me, the audience I would target would be the businessmen and the businesswomen looking for a very reliable bag that goes with all of their outfits, goes with looking sharp in any presentation, anytime, anywhere. If we're looking to really introduce Pinterest as one of our core platforms, I really think we need to focus on the market strategy there. The strategy I would focus on is the style aspect of our product, making sure that each bag gets their own style and showing that each bag can be styled differently compared to what you need. So, can we say how many different ways can we use a tote bag? Because I can think of a couple. Also, focusing on all the styles that the bag can accommodate, pushing the limits of what fashion is. Does a handbag go with formal wear? So if you say no, I say, why couldn't it? Let's show them that it could. And lastly, if I could only recommend one platform to sink $25,000 into, right now I'm going to pick Instagram every single time. Instagram is the king of e-commerce currently, at least on in the audience and the age range that I'm looking for. It has the daily user rates, and that just keeps rising. And the e-commerce part of it just keeps getting better and better. Instagram's also where the BUHI customer is, like I talked about, and going where your customer is might be the most important part of that, is because that's how they're going to spend their money. They're not going to find you, you have to find them. From what I've seen in this specific Stukind example, if we're putting $25,000 in, we can look forward to up to a 500% ROI, with about $125,000 in new sales. Now, for the crisis aspect, I wanted to make sure that when we went into a crisis and when we spoke about a crisis, that we use the social media to demonstrate a strong understanding of not just how we want to react, but how we can lead the conversation, how BUHI can lead the conversation through crisis. This was done in 3 different ways: transparency, empathy, and action. First, for transparency, I wanted to acknowledge the situation. I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that we knew and that we were taking the appropriate action. Next, I wanted to announce the investigation and make sure that it was going through someone that wasn't connected to us, and so they couldn't say, oh, there's a bias there. Second, for the empathy side, I wanted to show gratitude for the awareness of bringing it to our awareness. That's a big thing, like, to do. It's hard, and I wanted to make sure that we were thankful for that. And then also showing empathy for all of that was involved: the workers who work in that specific area, everyone who's involved in the shipping of it, everyone who might be involved because of someone else. I wanted to show empathy for that. And lastly, like I talk about, taking action. So making sure that there is a third party audit that goes on right away, making sure that we show that we are not biased to that at all. And then also really showing commitment to change when our third party auditor comes out with their results. Next, I want to talk about the growth of my student experience. We talked about having a 10% ROI. I kind of beat that. I got 602%. I was not the best, I will tell you that, which kind of shows that there's so much more to learn and grow on. But my week 1 was the strongest for ROI specifically. I think it's because I only had a $500 budget and spend. And so anything over $500 was massive. But I had a 33,000% ROI in week one alone. Total revenue, I had $377,000 in revenue, which is insane for 12 weeks. But my week four was my biggest. I had 53,000, almost $54,000 alone in just week four. I also had a really good week 11 as well. But it didn't quite meet the $54,000 threshold. And lastly, I wanted to talk about my budget. So my total budget topped out at $46,500. That's what I was given to spend. Out of that, I spent 99% of that goal. I spent $46,048. So that's something like $452 I left out on the table. And I'm okay with that. For the first 3 weeks, I was given a budget of $500 a week, and I spent 97% of that goal. And then for the last 9 weeks, I was given a $5,000 a week budget and I spent 99% of that goal. And I think I really did really well on that. From all of this, I would have to say that I completed all the goals of the chief marketing officer and also of me. First, the goal to spend my full budget. I think 99% of that was that. I also grew brand awareness and I increased engagement significantly. As for my goals, I soared past the 10% return on investment that I wanted, and I also did well to target specific audiences. Thank you so much.